Hey everybody, it's December 25th. I'm sitting here doing research. I'm studying. I'm reading. And I'm probably going to have to go get some beer after this because it's just fucking... Let me tell you something, folks. Like, you have no fucking clue how you're being run. You have no clue. And it's upsetting and it's stressful to have the prima facie evidence in front of me. I mean, even though it's secondhand, there's got to come a point where you just say, okay, I'm going to look at the information regardless of the initial source of the information and take it into consideration. You know, I'll be open and accepting of information and analyze it for my own self and decide whether it's worth keeping in my mind and altering my perception of reality or discarding it as, it's just not true. And, I mean, yeah, you wonder why you need a license for everything. Why you need permission slips to do anything now from the corporations. And there's a reason for it. Back in the early 1800s, under the original Constitution for the United States of America, which was still a corporate entity. I mean, I'm not going to fucking be stupid about this anymore. Okay? Even the original Constitution, not the Confederation of States, but after that, they were let me summarize it for you. The original parties, the signers to the original Constitution, they were tasked with correcting the flaws in the Articles of Confederation, which were the original document, the original terms of the partnership of the states that were formerly colonies in the mythology of the American history. And basically the framers, quote unquote, I'm not going to call them the founding fathers anymore because that implies that they are my father and they're not my father. They're not the father of anything about me. The framers, the signers to the original Constitution, they did something in secret, which was create that document. They were supposed to correct the flaws and submit the corrections for ratification by the states, the sovereign nation states, but they didn't. They created a new document, and that's where you get the whole that quote to Franklin about with the old lady. Oh, Mr. Franklin, what have you given us? Blah 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 blah. And the informer, who I've mentioned him before in my videos, he states that the framers, the signers of that original Constitution, basically they did that for their own benefit, and they are the only parties to that document. Okay, which means that you are not a party to it. And after some deep introspective thought, after hearing this for the first time, and it having been at least a month or so, if not a couple months since I came across that information, I have come to the conclusion that it's true. That I am not actually a party to the Constitution, and the Constitution, even what we have now, does not guarantee me shit. I mean, the evidence is all around you, folks. The evidence is everywhere if you're willing to see it. that you are not a party to the Constitution. But that's sort of a rabbit trail on why I'm making this video. I had made a decision to try and read books about law, and I was going to go to the library and do all that. And I started. And I guess maybe because my reading skill isn't the sharpest because of the current paradigm in which I live, which is, fast-hitting, fast-moving multimedia, and, bullet point lists and all that shit, which has affected my short-term memory, I have to admit. It really has. But what I found in reading it's like the Oxford or the Cambridge abridged dictionary of law or something like that, where I came across, it was a book, a dictionary, law dictionary, and I came across the ABA, American Bar Association, and I read about it in this dictionary. It covered the history of the ABA. It was short and condensed, but it covered it, and I was fucking blown away. And I got away from those books, and I returned them eventually. And so now I'm just following these rabbit trails that I'm finding on the web, and there is an abridged history, a timeline. And let me find and it's at barefootworlds.net. Let's see here, where is it? 100 Years of Uniform Laws and Abridged Chronology. And basically, and this with my memory, I'm pretty sure this corresponds with what I was reading in the dictionary, that in the late 1800s the ABA started, and it goes through incarnations that are previous to the American Bar Association, because there are different groups that merge. As always in power structures, you always start with a stratified power structure that slowly merges over time as groups' interests start to line up. And starting in 1890, this chronology covers basically what the ABA is doing. And holy fucking shit. Let me just read some. Work begins on Uniform Corporation Act, Uniform Partnership Act, Uniform Marriage and Marriage License Act, Uniform Child Labor Act. This is to unify all of the laws in all of these supposedly separate nations that we call states. And now it's called, it changed its name in 1915 to the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws, Constitution, and Bylaws, completely revised. Each act now must be considered section by section during at least 2 annual meetings. And then on April 25th, 1938, the Supreme Court overturned the standing precedents of the prior 150 years concerning common law and the federal government. And now the whole issue, there's a whole issue with common law, and I can't get into it on this video. But the Supreme Court stated, according to this listing here, that there is no federal common law, and Congress has no power to declare substantive rules of common law applicable in a state, whether they be local or general in their nature, be they commercial law or part of law of torts. And it also says after that the author of the site says, the common law is the fountain source of substantive and remedial rights, if not our very liberties. The members and associates of the bar, thereafter formed committees, granted themselves special privileges, immunities, and franchises, and held meetings concerning the judicial procedures and further to amend the laws, to conform to a trend of judicial decisions or to accomplish similar objectives, including hodgepodging the jurisdictions of law and equity together, which is known today as one form of action. What does all that mean? What that means is that each branch of government is now its own tyranny. And you have the ABA unifying all of the laws, which is why you go to every state in the union, quote unquote, and they all have departments of transportation. But not only that, they have departments of motor vehicles where they issue driver licenses to everybody. Everybody is coerced into a commercial standing. And as a part of that, where did I read that? Including the hodgepodging, which is the putting together of jurisdictions of law, which deals with real property and damage to real property, including your body and your life, your name. My name is supposed to be my property. Thomas Michael Thering. That is my property. But when the ABA hodgepodged law and equity together, they put us then under a UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, type of law system, where because of the and this was in 36, so this is after the Federal Reserve, this is after the bankruptcy, this is after World War I, this is on the verge of World War II with the rise of the Third Reich and Hitler and the Bolshevik Soviet Union. We are literally swimming in a world where commercial vehicles are the only ways that we're able to interact with the government because, or with the corporation, I should say, because of that very fact that the government is a corporation. It is not a de jure lawful government, and it hasn't been for a long time. And you have the ABA, unifying all the laws. They draft a standard law, and you have state houses that have lawyers sitting in the seats introducing this shit that are members of the ABA. And the ABA is tied back to London and the Bank of England and the Vatican, folks. And you can actually search the Temple Bar. This is a cult. The lawyers, they're like, the lawyer guild is like the Masonic lodges. You have the Porch Masons, and then you have the Inner Coterie. And it's the same thing with the lawyers. You have, your beatnik, not your beatnik lawyers, but you have your typical porch-sitting lawyer who just goes about his daily life and does and follows all the rules, quote unquote, in the book, quote unquote, that he learned at school, quote unquote, and got his license and passed the bar exam. But they have a physical place called the Temple Bar. It's a temple. What do you do in a temple? You conduct religious service. The lawyers that are members of the Bar Association represent cult members. I'm telling you, folks, you got a lot to learn, and you're running out of time. Get your guns, get your mind empowered. More later.